woodsmen were strong and good, but they left girls in woods sometimes, girls who then had to fend for themselves. Light snow falls. She stands slowly. The world lurches as if it's suddenly grown heavy. She falls to her knees and then hears voices in the woods. 2 people walking toward her. Even from this distance, she can see the red scars on their faces. One wobbles from a limp. They're carrying sacks. She tugs the scarf over her nose and mouth. She's supposed to be found. She's a foundling. She remembers this word was used in the room with the bright light. "We want her to be a foundling." It was a man's voice, quavering over a speaker. He was in charge, though she never saw him. Willix. Willix, people whispered. People with smooth skin who weren't fused to anything. They moved easily around her bed, surrounded by metal posts where clear sacks of fluid were clamped and dripped into tubes, among little beeping machines and wires. It was like having mothers and fathers, too many to keep track. She remembers the wide light in the room, its brilliant bulb, so bright and close it kept her warm. She remembers how she first ran her hand over her skin, and when she touched her stomach, it too was smooth. Her navel, the thing her mother always called the button of her belly, and what the voices in that room called her umbilicus, was gone. She reaches up under her coat and shirt and runs her hand over her stomach. Like before, there's only a stretch of skin and more skin. "Healed," the voices said behind white masks, but they were concerned. "Still a success," they said. Some wanted to keep her for observation. She starts to open her mouth to call to the distant figures carrying sacks, but her mouth doesn't open all the way. It's as if her lips are slightly stitched on either side, the edges sealed. And what would she say? She can't think of any words. The words whirl in her mind. They're furred. She can't line them up or utter them. Finally, she calls out, but the only words that form in her mouth are, "We want." She doesn't know why. She tries again to call for help, but again she shouts, "We want." They walk up, 2 young women. They're pickers. She can tell by the warts and scars on their fingers. They've touched a lot of poisonous bulbs, berries, morels. One of them has silver prongs, like those on an old fork, in place of 2 of her fingers. She's the one with the limp. And her face, though seared a deep red, is strangely pretty. Mostly because of her eyes, which glow a golden orange like liquid metal, stained by the brightness of the bombs themselves. She's blind. She clutches the other picker's arm and says, "Who's you?" It sounds like a bird call. The girl heard birds in the bright room, recorded and piped in by the unseen speakers. Cooing, the girl thinks. And then she hears other birds in the woods. These birds have the kinds of calls she grew up with. Not clear, sweet notes as in the bright room, but scratches and rattles. The 2 young women are scared of her. Can they already tell she's different? She wants to tell them her name, but it's gone. The only words in her mind are fire flower. That's what her mother used to call her sometimes. Born from fire and destruction, she took root and grew. She's never known her father, but she's pretty sure that he was lost in the fire and destruction. And then her name appears. Wilda. She is Wilda. She puts her hand on the cold ground. She wants to tell them that she's new. She wants to tell them that the world has changed forever. She says, "We want our son." The words startle her. Why did she say this? The young women look at each other. The blind one says, "What was that? Whose son?" The other has a scar running down one cheek.